Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is in Kiev on Wednesday, following a day in which hundreds were injured in Russian attacks across Ukraine. Meanwhile, attention is also shifting northward to the Baltic Sea, where drone incursions, subsea infrastructure concerns, and reported Russian electronic warfare are increasingly shaping the security landscape. Now, European institutions are responding with expanded funding and coordinated defense initiatives aimed at strengthening critical gaps in regional resilience. Now we discuss the latest with Piotr Szymański, Senior Fellow at the Security and Defense Department Center for Eastern Studies. Good to have you in the studio. Welcome.
Hey, nice to see you.
So we have all these various hybrid threats. It's about communication. It's about our critical infrastructure. So the Baltic and the North Sea have really become very vulnerable. I want to just ask you, before we get into the nitty-gritty, what in your mind right now, is that the main theater now? Is that the most, let's say, if we call it frontline, if you will, of NATO?
Given the proximity between NATO countries and Russia in the Baltic Sea region, it is a kind of frontline, especially for the so-called Russian hybrid threats. And we see several of them ongoing daily basis in the region. So we have to protect our underwater critical infrastructure, boost resilience in terms of GPS signals. We saw NATO measures being implemented like the Baltic Sentry, like Eastern Sentry, so the airspace, the maritime areas, and it is profoundly important to build the right and proper balance between the military deterrence through NATO and different regional initiatives aimed at increasing daily resilience to Russian actions.
Mm-hmm. And on that one front, we have NATO on the one hand, we have closer, as you said, cooperation between Baltic countries, Poland, and other partners in the region. Now, also, tell us a bit more about the Council Baltic Sea States. Now, this goes back to, I believe, 1992. There was a ministerial, I believe, all the foreign ministers of these, I think, 11 countries came together last Friday. So how, let's say, has that moved more into the fore? Why does this matter? What was discussed there in Sopot on the north coast there a few days ago?
It has been a very interesting organization because it gathers all countries from the broader Nordic and Baltic region. That includes Poland, Germany, the Baltic states, so the Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and all 5 Nordic states, plus the EU, which is represented by the External Action Service on daily basis. So it has been a useful tool for cooperation in 3 long-term priority areas, so sustainable development, safety, cultural heritage. However, after Russia departed the organization in 2022, there is room for maneuver to enhance cooperation as well in the area of security-related initiatives. And we had the summit of the CBSS last year in Vihula, Estonia, during the Estonian presidency, which set the course that we need more cooperation in security domain within that framework. And as a kind of follow-up to this declaration and the report by former President of Estonia and former President of Lithuania, we prepared our own report at the Center for Eastern Studies for the Polish presidency, which lasts until the end of June. And we offered there concrete measures, areas in which countries could move forward our regional cooperation in the area of resilience. That includes critical maritime infrastructure protection, that includes civil protection and civil defense, that includes resilience to GPS spoofing and jamming, and coordination at the highest ministerial level within the CBSS framework, because this organization is well suited for that, with the permanent international secretariat, with the annual 1 year long presidency, which changes among the member states, and with different working groups, committee of senior officials from the ministries of foreign affairs. So that is a solid and robust structure that could help us in facilitating this cooperation and coordinating different regional formats.
Okay. I mean, listening to you also, I heard robust structure, resilience. We hear these things. You said there's a report written where you've lined out concrete measures. So, but at the same time, and we're still seeing incursions by drones crashing. We've had, if we look at Latvia in the last few weeks, right, that first the defense minister stepped down or was fired, then the government has now is changing in the process of that. So what is the concrete measures here? I mean, you've analyzed this, this kind of format. What are the tangibles that are missing? Is it more drone defense? Is it more with this GPS I mean, the technicalities of this? So what are the tangibles that can come out of this, and how quickly can they come out of this?
So I will give you one example on that. We are leaving defense and deterrence to NATO. This is not about duplication, any kind of duplication. However, there has been several different measures and documents at the level of NATO and the EU. So 7 baseline resilience requirements in NATO, or different strategic papers and documents in the EU, like revised maritime security strategy, like cable security toolbox, like EU preparedness strategy, internal security strategy. So we can have an emphasis on this grassroots implementation of certain initiatives with the help of EU funding, for instance. And just to mention one of the initiatives, this is Cable Security Center, which is being established in Helsinki in order to have a better overview over cables in the Baltic Sea region and ability to respond to any kind of incidents. We have witnessed with the Shadow Fleet tankers damaging cables, dragging anchor through the seabed for 100 kilometers. And this is an idea to have regional cable supplies and storage and maintenance capacity, to have this reserve, emergency reserve, cable repairment vessels and spare parts in order to be able to react more quickly to any kind of incidents, because the prevention is one side, reaction, so the military and our ability to respond and predict these kinds of incidents. However, recovery is a domain in which we can do more in order to be more resilient. So if we have warehouses around the Baltic Sea region with stored cables and several vessels which are able to go into the task, then we will be better in deterring hybrid threats as well.
Yeah, and also I think one of the things that was talked about a lot was this idea of being prepared, an anti-drone wall. I mean, different mechanisms of actually having different countries from Poland up to the Baltic states. I mean, that's a lot of work. And also what I want to ask, because technically, if we look, we just saw the map there on the screen, we have Kaliningrad, this oblast, right, wedged in the middle there, north of Poland, and then right wedged into Lithuania there. If we look at the past cases, not just the last few weeks, but in the past year or so, we've had high-profile cases of aviation drifting off course, civil aviation. We've had now drones going off course, crashing. Tell us and our viewers how dangerous this is and where it's really all coming from, because it seems different reports are triangulated coming around Kaliningrad. So explain to us the capacity and the danger that this poses, not just to military aviation, but also civilian aviation.
Yes, so Kaliningrad between Lithuania and Poland, and through this area, Russia can actually influence the Baltic Sea region. But it is not only the problem for our region and the Baltic Sea. It happens as well in the high north, so the Barents Sea, Norway, Finland, with its 1,300 kilometers long border with Russia. So we have seen cases in which Russian jamming influenced flights and schedules, and 3 airports in the eastern part of Finland had to switch to an old type radar in order to secure the civil aviation there. So this is and has been a daily challenge for both air transportation and maritime, the maritime one. So
how do we counter it, though? Can we counter it?
Yes, actually, there have been several initiatives for that, and we argue in our report that we have to coordinate them. It could be done under the umbrella of the CBSS, so the Council of the Baltic Sea States, for instance, and each country simply has to invest more in building new types of resilient alternative navigation systems. Our own capacities to counter with electronic warfare, and this is the way simply to manage that risk. We saw Russian capacities and electronic warfare capacities to distract Ukrainian drones from the targets within the Russian Federation into many countries in the region, including the Baltic states and Finland. So this is a pending challenge for the entire region. So I think we have to invest in counter capacities, but develop our own electronic warfare simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. As you said, this is a threat not just for military aviation, it's civil aviation, it's navigation on the seas, it's undersea cables, so hybrid threats abound. But as you said, there are clear reports, there's clear recommendations, but I think there's a lot of work ahead. But thanks so much for coming and telling us all about it. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was Piotr Szymański, Center for Eastern Studies. And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.